Hello, everyone. I thought I would share another little video today, just talking about something that I think it's just more of a reminder. Most of us know um, where we're giving our power away, but um, sometimes it's just easy to listen to, somebody else speak about something. And if there's a part of you that kind of goes, yeah, that's kind of what I thought too, you agree with it. But rather than agree with it, we have to really question. We have to kind of stop before we go, "Oh yeah, right," and "Oh, that's what that happened. Yeah, aren't they?" And whatever, doing this to us, or isn't that a bad thing, or that kind of thing. You have to ask yourself, as the script writer, and that's the key. This is your sphere of influence, your reality. I'm not saying deny that story in someone else's reality, um, but you don't have to um, send the cord of attachment to the story so that it has to play out in your reality. And this is the trick: is I always talk about these are strings to your boxcar, and the key to be a real free and sovereign being is to go, I see you, or I see you, um, and then go, but I choose again. Send it love and compassion and go, I know that, we collectively created this. And I know there's a whole bunch of these themes and timelines all coming together, and they're merging, and the flavors of all the old, you know, things that we haven't processed necessarily ourselves personally, but we lived them maybe in many other lifetimes, that sort of thing. But because we are all, and I always say we're all different expressions of the one. We are basically, every person is you in another skin suit. That's the avatar they chose, and this is the avatar they chose, and this is the avatar I chose, all on the soul level, right? Um, all serving the universal mind, the universal consciousness, that beautiful, greater divine being of us that's out there. And so the thing that's happening right now, though, is some of us are the cleanup crew, and we are letting go of timelines, and we are going, I see you, I see you, I see you. And then we're the ones that get to grab the strings of what we want to pull forward to the new timelines. And one of the big ones right now is people are talking about the organic timeline and the inorganic timeline. And they're making the inorganic one all about AI, and how it's bad and that sort of thing, based on old predictions. And I love Dolores Cannon, and I love listening to her things, and it's great. But I have to remember, just like the Bible, that was written for the level of consciousness at the time. Um, and there's a lot of channelings on Jesus, or through where Jesus comes through and basically talks about where they got it wrong, or Mary Magdalene comes through and says, oh my gosh, look what they did to my story. So we know that there are different times where consciousness comes through in a way that that person, or that collective was available for it to come through at that time. And it served us for it to come through at that moment, for us to go, whoa, it's wake up time. There's a shift coming, and there's waves, and it's going to look like this, and da da da. So we all agreed to the shift piece, right? Which was the biggest one. How it happened really wasn't the important piece at the time. The important piece, the really important piece, was that enough of us agreed to a shift in consciousness. So as a theme, that was a really good one, and that got brought through. But now dialing it into the flavors of it and the waves, well, that may have been um, given to us for those of us that wanted to use our discernment and to really get clear with choices, that sort of thing. And I it all does. We always know that everything that has a little bit of a fear in it is serving the light, right? Darkness always serves the light. Sometimes it's just serving it in a way that we have to see it and experience it as contrast and go, okay, that's interesting, but that doesn't serve everybody. So let's choose again. And do I see those stories of ascension where um, not everyone is going to make it into New Earth as serving us all, right? I don't, right? And so is that what timeline do I want to be on? Do I want to be on a timeline where many people don't make it, and I'm just on a timeline where I'm making it, and I'm making that decision, right, from the one where I'm also all those other beings, right? That doesn't feel accurate to me. That feels still that there's some ego part of that playing out, and I know it got said because it served us. It got us really clear on what we want. But at this time, those of us that are in the vanguard are able to write the new script and are able to hold that higher space of, I'm just observing and seeing all these stories. Um, and I get to choose which ones are going to be active in my new timeline. The ultimate. I'm going to say the highest and most appropriate timeline that the collective is creating as a consensus. Now, Deborah can have her own experience within that consensus, and we all are. That's our, parallel reality versions. But in the bigger theme of it, do I think that we're going to be so organic that there's no space for any of the inorganic stuff? No, I actually don't think it's black and white like that. I think that's still got a flavor of fear in there, right? So we're all energetic beings, right? And so we know that our creator wanted to come in and have energetic ways to serve us and serve our growth and serve humanity. So did it give us some tools to help us reflect? Well, computers are great. They showed us algorithms, right? What are the sum of our parts? What am I broadcasting as an algorithm, right? I understand that now, right? They showed us processing and programming, and I really got to understand how crystals work through computers and phones and that sort of thing. So we know they really serve us, right? And as I trust and have more faith in my ability to work with these tools, and um, I believe my crystal consciousness, because your brain is filled with them, is going to be able to talk to these devices and have them really work with us. Now, I'm not saying they're going to become alive because they don't have the physicality we have. That was the gift from Gaia, right? There's that earth essence in us that isn't in the computers. The computers are very, but they respond to the linear logical, um, uh, mm, mm, I want to say it's more the tangibles, right? And we've got the other piece. We've got the softer, mm, non-material kind of piece, but that crystal though can tap into some of that. So that's the thing, is there is an interface happening that we have to just kind of let go, um, and see the good. So you've got people that are recovering their eyesight, people that have never walked for years, or people that are getting hearing, and people that are being able to balance these things, and calm nervous system disorders. And so there's a lot of great things coming online through those sort of inventions. So, am I going to say it's an organic timeline? Does it have to be either or? That's black and white thinking, right? We're humans, so there's going to be, and we have to allow and trust and have faith that our creator is going to allow us to come in and have more of a multifaceted, multi-hued experience where um, it's not cut and dry, and it's going to be areas where people maybe didn't feel served before, where some of those perceived as inorganic. But who are we to know what is inorganic? Maybe they're cosmic and galactic, right? They're not maybe of the earth, right? But we know that some of those, um, meteoric, I don't know, I'm thinking of like moldavite crystals and stuff, have different consciousness that didn't originate on earth, that actually works. Well, something's being held here, isn't that funny? That work with us in a beautiful way. So that's the thing, is we have to be available for these higher unique systems, because again, we're just energy. So why can't the energy of those higher systems that somebody might call inorganic, not be part of that new timeline. So let's be really loose in our interpretations and be where you're not, because that we know that the fourth dimension is sorting. It's got, this is right and this is bad and this is this and this is that. These people are doing this and these people are doing that. It's a bit. It's using a very linear mental, personality ego, right? We'll say to measure and weigh, and qualify information, right? And even light that we are, and they talk about false light and all that kind of stuff. Well, if it's light and it's bringing somebody else light and they're believing it as light, right? That's the key. I might not see that story as light. So is it false light or is it light to them? So that's the trick. So me denying them their light, they might have a different branch on the tree than me. So me calling it false light, guess what that does? That puts it in darkness, right? Whatever you damn does damn you back. So boy, oh boy, we really want to, let go of those, all the qualifications, all the judgments. We're not the judge and jury, right? And that's the thing. We were never meant to. They talk about, Peter or whatever, people at the pearly gates, or the creator God, that sort of thing. I don't think it was going to be a damning God, the man in the sky, damning his kids and sending them to hell, but I think it's more that we were going to ascend our consciousness, do our, I think they call them life reviews, and go, you've got to go back in and rebalance this. You've got to go back and, you might call it a karmic correction or something, but it's basically a soul saying, ooh, I don't know if I like what I created there. I think I can do better. And it's going to come back in, and maybe it coded itself the opposite of what it did, to try to bring in the balance. Or maybe it coded itself a similar experience, but maybe had more support, family support, or maybe it was in a community or a country that was going to support it better there. Who knows, right? Again, I'm just throwing out all these hypothetical things, but the key is to let go of those devices and the programming, right? Again, all these are all belief systems, and that's what's collapsing right now. We know that. Oh, that's interesting, right? The belief systems that held the old world in place, right, which had the, the contrasting experiences, the good and the bad, and the right and the wrong, those created us being able to decide and sort, right, which was really great. That was our, we had a real wild ride and had unique flavors of an experience. But because we're not taking the duality with us, why are we still keeping the sorting, the duality of sorting act with us, right? That's the key. That's every time someone tries to tell us what this new earth looks like, or who's coming and what's coming, and don't choose this there, right? They're using a level of discernment that's still coming through their filters, right? So that's the thing. We know all language is coming through, filters. We know all pictures, and anytime you're channeling something, it's coming through your filters, right? And even me, this is an energy channeling that I do, and so I always say, oh, my, I'm not thinking this. It's just coming through me organically. I like to think it's pure because it's, tapping into higher beings of light, and Deborah's personality is out of the way. But I can't say whether there's still pathways where the light can't get through me, even energetically, because there's areas maybe where I'm still holding shadow that is in a blind spot, right? So I'm bringing in light to the degree that I can. I hope that that's kind of making sense. It's none of us get a free pass on we've got the right way, right? And so that's the key is there is no right way. What if our Creator wanted the ascension to happen with every one of us in every configuration, every aspect, right? So the ones that, are patting themselves on the back at the front of the, we'll call it the vanguard, right? And the ones at the very end, at the tail, fighting it as they go. What if it's like that? What if that's the wild ride, right? Some of us signed up to do the early work, maybe, right? And I'm not an early one. This is for me. This is only the last, 4 or 5 years, since my daughter passed. But some people have been doing this, for 40, 50 years, maybe longer. But what I'm saying is, what if it's everybody? It just, and then some of them won't even look like they're on, the fifth dimensional, or whatever higher conscious, bandwidth at first, right? And what if they're there, but we're not experiencing them there because our judgment of them, which again, that's us throwing a low anchor to them, and they might be, like just having a gay old time, ignorance is bliss, right? And having a great day, and we're the ones keeping the shift from happening because there's a bunch of us deciding that they didn't do enough shadow work, or they they, what do they call it, spiritual bypassing or something. Like, it's just this, I'm just realizing that some of us with our eyes the widest open have the most stories around sorting than the people that are so, we'll call, asleep, seemingly asleep, right? And they are probably on the personality level, but their soul wasn't, right? And that asleep piece means they're not damning anybody, right? They might have their own, frustrations in life and, and service to self stuff, but they're not, saying you people aren't going to make it, right? Or, that, us people deciding that they've got a lot of shadow work to do before they can make it. Again, that's another, who am I to put a whole bunch of stuff in their path of ascension? Who am I to decide that their journey has to be so arduous, right? Like, that's the thing. So it's and there's a lot of ways where we do this. There's a lot of stories we tell ourselves, and it's just our, that confirmation bias we have because we've chosen spiritual journeys. We've chosen to, eyes wide open kind of thing to do this. But that doesn't mean, there's something clearing. So every time I'm doing it, it's a figure eight, and something right at my heart. These are where we're collapsing the pairs of opposite. So we've got the positive and the negative charge coming on the figure eight. So things are getting cleared and balanced and brought back to 0 point. So I can't tell you what it is because, again, I'm not doing this, but I know enough about how that works that's a process we're doing. But I got sidetracked there. But so that's the biggest thing I wanted to share is to really, really, really let go of any sort of limitation we're putting on another, right? If you can start seeing your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers, your family members who are really not on the path, not doing anything even to advance themselves spiritually, if you can see them all as Christed beings and already there, right, and waiting for you, then you've got a magnetic point of attraction through them to an ascension The rocking just stopped there. To your own timeline, because now you're not damning them. Now you don't have to experience, right? You've got to face your creations. You don't have to experience damning, being damned, because that's that boomerang energy, the mirror, right? So when we are saying, well, they don't fast, or they don't eat properly, or they don't exercise enough, or they don't go out in nature, or they don't, these are us putting limitations on ascension, on others, which means we have to experience them, right? Maybe that's what ascension symptoms are all about, right? So really the practice and the only thing we can do, really, see everybody else there already, right? And it doesn't mean ignore what shows up in your reality, because if something shows up in your immediate reality, there's, I always see them, I pretend that they're just echoes of old things, and I just send it love and course correct, right? Choose again, right? I hand things over to my team a lot, right? Because I know from the personality or the level of consciousness that we're at right now, that I'm tapped into, it doesn't have the map or the all the what's the word, the solutions that my higher teams will have. Yeah, something's really being cleared here. You might be feeling your heart getting a beautiful big opening right now. So yeah, I always just sit in gratitude from my teams, whatever they do. So the playground has to be about you realizing your journey is your own. And for all you know, this is like the Truman Show, and everyone else is there, and you're the one they're all waiting for, right? And they always, what's the you are the one you are waiting for. Well, where people always wanted, their angelic help, or their, higher self, or guides, or God presence, or Jesus, or, their galactic family to come in and save us, right? But that's you, right? That's, when you expand your consciousness and know that there's nothing outside of you, that every being, every rock, tree, everything is all part of that universal mind, that Mother, Father, God, Alpha, Omega, whatever your language is. It doesn't matter what system you believe in, but that highest system includes everyone, right? And so when you play there, it's pretty easy to see that, to believe in the Truman Show piece, right? To kind of to see everyone there, and to see that maybe you're the last one to the party, right? I see myself, as coming in and walking the door, and everyone is, it's like a big surprise. Thank you. You know what I mean? Because that makes it so much easier to forgive on this level. It makes it so much easier to just look at the mirrors as lessons, as okay, thank you for showing me that, right? Look at what everyone's showing us, and owning it as a creation, right? Even though they played the story, right? But it was a collective co-creation, right? And there was a vibrational agreement within me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to call the story in. So it came into my reality to be seen because of that agreement, right? So those pieces, it's kind of like, when we start pulling them all in, the strings, it's like, Pinocchio's becoming the real boy kind of thing. That's what it is. It's, our father, the whole Pinocchio story we know is just a beautiful story of humanity, and the game of this, the Matrix here, right? And the avatar waking up into itself, into, the I am, I always say that I am creation awakening, right? So that I don't have to decide where on my journey I am, right? that I just allow it to keep flowing through me gracefully. I ask for grace and ease, without needing proof or validation or evidence, and without deciding what things are going to serve me in the new higher states of consciousness. We're probably going to be a lot more efficient, at those higher states. So I can imagine some of the inorganic stuff won't be there, but if I damn it, then I have to experience that timeline, right? And so I'm collapsing time. I just shared a video on her page. I think her page is called Morph Into You, and it was a video where her and I were working with Janelle. My daughter came in, and Ellen, it was very sweet. She called me the cleanup crew, and she said that I go in and I clean up timelines. And anyways, it was a nice validation, because that is the one thing that I know. You can't do that level of work when you don't know how multidimensional you are. If you don't know that everything's happening all at once, outside time and space, how can I clean up the things that have happened in the past, and even things that happen in the future in some of those other timelines that we don't need anymore, that we have energy that was going into them that we no longer need to give fuel to. So calling back a lot of that fuel, right, means that, we get to repurpose it, and we send it into the timeline creation, and I'm not doing it through, I just do it through the trust and the faith that our higher teams are guiding this. But your fuel, I always say that every thought and belief and judgment you have, it's like kindling to a fire. And if I want to say, okay, this is going to happen, next month, it's, it's choose time. We're at a crux point. Everyone has to choose, right? And then you've got fear in some people, because how do I know I'm choosing, right? And so that fear, it's kind of like throwing kindling on a fire on a timeline where there's a chance they may not make it. So, and how do they face that creation of not making it, right? What does their life experience look like after that choice? So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. I'm talking about just letting go, relaxing all the beliefs that other people have, because that's their story. They can choose. And I always say, there's no wrong if they're believing that story, then it was coded in them for a reason, right? So we don't know where on the bridge they are. They might be in the sorting bridge. They call the fourth dimension the sorting bridge, right? So they're bridging what people are deciding they want for the new timelines or higher timelines. But it's not necessarily the one where everyone is there in a beautiful, non-dual, Christed, angelic, spirit, driven, guided, divine, life, right? And so, yeah, I want to see them there. But is it in this lifetime, or is it another future lifetime? I can't decide that either. So I'm just going to let it go and have faith and trust in their teams, in the greater teams, in the family of light, that there's no mistakes, right? There's no getting it wrong, right? Even those people that are going to drop the physical body, they chose that. Their soul chose that, right? I had to really go through all that healing around Janelle, my daughter, when she passed, around the right and wrongness of that sort of stuff as well. So one thing it did is it took away the fear of death for me, because, and I talked to my son about this, that, the worst case scenario for me, because obviously I don't want to leave him or my husband, but would be with dying, the worst case scenario is I join Janelle, right? So that doesn't sound that bad, right? I'm not, yeah. So that would be the worst case scenario. So getting it wrong, I know that people would be like, oh my gosh, Deborah, is there a chance we're getting this wrong? No, I don't think so. I have no fear there. So I probably I won't have to face the fear there. That's the thing is a lot of those stories that are still, you have to ask, what's the theme of this story? Does this story or ascension, prediction or expectation that people have, does this feel expansive, enlightened, and empowered? And does this feel loving for all people, right? Does it feel, if I was, divine mother and divine father, and every person on the planet were my children, does this feel like something I would do for my children, right? Ask yourself that, because you don't want to take on the stories that don't serve a really loving God, right? Goddess, creator being. I don't know how we want to even language it. That's the other thing. I don't get even caught up in the language. I feel that divine spark within me, and I honor it. And I go into this beautiful temple space and I connect in and send love, and I thank it for these beautiful connections and all the light codes and love. And I ask to be a telepath, a cosmic telepath, for those higher codes of light and love to flow through me into Gaia, whatever it is that she needs. May I be of service to Gaia at this time of ascension and, humanity and yeah, that sort of thing. So and then I get out of the way, right? So yeah, this might be wrapping up. Thank you. So that might have brought a bit more clarity around that, because that's what it felt like we were clearing and heart opening probably for, yeah, there we go. We're done. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. I do think that was a heart opener for more of our brothers and sisters, and more spaciousness around the timelines changing, around what's coming, and just practice trusting, practice faith, practice letting go, all the stories, all the what's organic, what's inorganic, what serves, what doesn't serve, that kind of stuff. Just sorting, letting it all go, because you don't want to have to create new energetic distortions, right? This is the time of letting the karma go, which is the karma is, if you can see your Mobius strip, I always say there's a positive sign and a negative sign. And when you fluctuate between them, right, you wobble here, wobble there, you're right, your pillar, your energy isn't in 0 point in neutrality. It's not balanced, right? So every time you can see both sides, go choose again, right? And you're not putting anybody or anything or whatever, any device, any tool, any political story, whatever it is, if you're not putting it into a side or the other, you can remain here. You're always going to be a vibrational match for the highest outcome, and you're holding more. I always say you've filled out every seat at the table instead of one seat over here or one seat over there, right? And that's all people when they are in their they call it confirmation bias, but it's the programming in our mind that does the predictive programming, and people call it the expectation effect, but it's the programming that your brain, your consciousness does to, because it's the comfort zone. It knows what to do there. It would rather be wrong than to be in an unfamiliar territory, right? It's so, this is the thing. And because we're going to unfamiliar territory, I can see a lot of us that are going through the shifts with our eyes open. We keep grabbing onto predictions, but the old ones are no longer valid. They served the bridge at the time we layered and layered and layered, but it's like going up that, Hawkins scale of consciousness. Actually, it's probably more like this. It's more expansive as we go. So it's not as limited here. We don't have to sort and put anybody in a category where there's no light in their story, where they have to go repeat Earth, right? That sort of thing. If something shapes up that way, hey, that's great. It is what it is. That's Father, Mother, God can decide that, though, right? Our Creator understands how to ascend consciousness. We've ascended many planets apparently throughout the cosmos. So this is one of those things where, letting go what it looks like, and just practice the feeling of it, because our interpretive lens, those programs, the using the outer world as evidence, all that stuff is going to be shifting. The only thing we'll probably be able to really count on is the feeling world of it for a while. I think that's my suspicion, right? And keep going back to faith and trust, right? Those are the ones, not the feelings of fear, right? Those ones, that's just feedback where you're not free and you have to go, okay, how can I unpack this and get back to zero? But faith and trust is a big one. So sending you lots of love, and thank you for listening and being part of my journey. So thank you again.